guys, in today's video I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make doodle text, and I'm going to teach you how to do it two ways. This first way is free and it's in the app Picsart. The first thing you're going to want to do is choose a transparent background, and then there's this brush tool on the bottom. Then when you go to the paintbrush on the bottom, you'll see that there are a bunch of different brush options, and I would suggest using this one if you want to make like a paint stroke background almost. There are a ton of different settings you can play around with to give it a different look. You can also play around with the opacity, and then there you can go to the color wheel and you can actually change the color to whatever you want the color of the paint stroke to be. So then I just went ahead and drew a couple lines and made it how I liked it. You can also play around with the opacity to make it look more like a paint stroke like I'm doing here. And then once I have it how I like it, I'm just going to click apply, and then there is a save to your photo album button. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that and save that to my camera roll. Instead of just doing this paint stroke background though, you can also make text. So I just hit the undo button, changed it to white text, and I changed the size of it a lot less. And what I did is I just drew out whatever I wanted it to say. It's going to be a little bit harder here because it's not going to be as smooth of a line because this app isn't designed to make like handwriting look good and stuff. But it does get the job done, and you are able to use this as an overlay in iMovie or QCut Pro or whatever you use to edit. So basically this is what my text ends up looking like once I finally decide on the settings I want. I just click apply and then I save it to my camera roll. So in order to use this in iMovie, you're going to want to go into iMovie, go to Photos, and then add it, but you're going to add it as a green screen, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to have it pop up. You can add it as a picture-in-picture if you want it to fade in and out though, but I did not want it to fade. And then using the tools on the left, I'm just adjusting it, like resizing it and moving it to the middle of my video. So if you want to add text to any of these backgrounds, for instance this paint stroke background, what you can do is just go into the app Phonto and it'll allow you to make a PNG. I'm just typing the date, but obviously you can type whatever title you want, and then I'm changing the font and such. It just comes to playing around with it. I think I changed the font to Georgia and I made sure it was white, and then as long as the text is within the scope of that image, meaning the text isn't outside that paint stroke, you can use it. Then I followed the same steps. I went into iMovie and I just added that text, or the paint stroke text title that I had made. I did it in picture-in-picture because this made it fade in, and then I can just play around with it using the move tools on the right side of the screen. And then this is pretty much what it looks like. I have my paint stroke text. So the second way to make one of these is in the app Procreate, which does cost money. I believe it's $5 for iPhone and $10 for iPad. But what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure I have a new layer, and then I'm going to the color wheel, changing the color, and then I'm going to the streaks option. And in order to get the paintbrush background, I'm just playing around with the size and the opacity. I turn the size up quite a bit and I turn the opacity down a little bit so I get those lines. Then I just draw lines back and forth in order to get the background. You just play around with it, and if you double tap you can actually delete what you just did, so you'll see me doing that a couple of different times. Now if you want to make text that almost looks like it wiggles, what you're going to want to do is make a layer, go to whatever pen you want. I chose the brush pen for this because I'm drawing in script, and then I resized it and just wrote out hello. You're going to want to make sure this is on a blank layer and not the background layer. Then go back to that layer option, add a new layer, and what you're going to be doing here is basically tracing over the text we had already made. So you're just going to outline what you already wrote, but you're going to do it a little bit sloppy so that you get these different looking strokes, and this is what it's going to give it the wiggle effect when you put it into an app like iMovie. Now I'm just going to go ahead and save this to my camera roll and then go into the app iMovie. You're going to want to make sure though that when you're saving it, you make sure you save each individual layer separately, and that your background is turned off, because if the background's on then you're going to have a white background, but if it's off it'll be transparent. So now in iMovie what I'm going to do is I'm going to add each of the pictures, and I'm going to add them as green screens. I'm not going to add them as picture-in-picture because that means that they'll fade and you won't be able to get the text effect. And then what I'm doing is I'm duplicating them and then alternating them so that the text goes back and forth and looks like that. I would recommend having 3 different versions, but I only did 2 in this case.